I had a hunch it was going to be good, but whenever you make a movie, whenever you put your heart out there, it's rolling dice, man. Sometimes they don't like it.
Welcome to another great installment of the Canadian Film Salon. My name is Ken Hegan. I'm the writer in residence at the Vancouver Public Library, and it's my honor to talk with Mina Shum, a Vancouver legend. She's now got 5 feature films under her belt as writer-director, and she's also directing lots of episodes of television. Thank you for coming to talk to us.
Oh,
and inspiring our listeners.
Absolutely thrilled. Looking forward to the screening tonight.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
Yeah.
It's going to be a packed house. We've got a beautiful new theater here at the library. And so let's talk. I want to talk to you about Meditation Park because it's super popular on Rotten Tomatoes. 89% positive critic scores, 100% audience reviews. Anyone who sees this film loves it. Like, do you know that in advance that you're onto a winner when you came up with the idea?
I knew she had to come to life. I knew the story of Maria in this particular form needed expression. And then, sure enough, the talent behind the movie, my collaborators, the cast, the crew, they also felt the same way. So I had a hunch it was going to be good, but whenever you make a movie, whenever you put your heart out there, it's rolling dice, man. Sometimes they don't like it, right? So you hope for the best, you speak your truth.
Yeah. And your path can be, through good intentions, everyone's trying to make it better and better, but you could be sent off your path 1,000 ways on the way to the finish line, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
But start with a great idea, and how do you make it better at every turn?
I think it's from the first time you set whatever's in your head onto a piece of paper, all the way to you sitting in the audience watching the film. It's drafts. I can't stress enough combing through it. I'm at the point right now, it's so great because to come in today, because I just did I made cards 2 weeks ago on something just to get it out of my head.
Like these?
Different colored cards, different cards for characters, different arcs. I kind of know the movie I'm trying to write. Yeah. And I just put the blocks of giant to go, is there something here? I just want to see what's in here, what it's telling me.
Sure.
So I put it all on different little card. I used to use Post-it notes. Okay. But this time I didn't have any in the house, so I just used colored index cards that are about this small. I write with a big Sharpie, and I just write the essence of the scene. And
so who's in the scene? What do they want from each other?
Yeah. Our heroine introduces the competition and the themes of the movie. I know what that means, right?
Okay.
Nobody else needs to read this piece of paper. I know what that means. So I'm tracing it and going, okay, that's one thing that has to happen. And I just write all my ideas down for things that could happen while I'm sort of watching this very vague film in my head, because I don't have a script yet, right? I'm just thinking of an idea. I will comb through so today, after I was doing it, and I'm going to go home after this and go back to it, I have all the cards laid out, and now I'm filling things in. From I'm looking at the cards going, okay, well, what exactly happened just before this moment?
Yeah.
And how are they related? And who are these people? And, I'm sort of just combing through it. I probably won't even write an outline for another 2 weeks.
And at this point, are you ending a scene positively? So that means you've got to start the next scene with a negative feeling. Like,
I'm not there yet. But I have to say, that contrast of dynamics, it's built into my DNA now, because I've been writing scripts for a long time.
Yeah. Fumbling
my way through, trying to learn the craft of telling my story. And the stories that are, I don't know how to write sci-fi because that's not my genre, right? Even though I do have a sci-fi movie I'm working on, I got a co-writer I got another writer to do it.
Okay.
Co-wrote the story, right?
So what is your genre or your hybrid genres?
Oh, I think it has to do with me reflecting the stories that are happening in the world now and concern me. So whatever that is, right? So it's coming of age. How do you find the courage to be who you are? How to be you when there's so much pressure in coding? And so I'll take that, like it's a really simple thing, right? You've heard that, I don't know if you've heard this, but contrast equals conflict equals climax. The 3 C's. Contrast equals conflict equals climax. You contrast a person to their environment, immediately you're going to get conflict. Conflict's got to go to climax. Fantastic. So so I always think character based that way too. I always think about, like, what does the person want? What does the hero ultimately, what's this about? What does the hero ultimately want in the telling of this story? Yeah. What is the form of this story? Because you and I could both make a movie about this, the bus strike. Okay, yeah. Let's just say, but depending on form, you could write an iambic pentameter, and I could be writing it's no dialogue. The whole film is in just images, right? So it's a matter of, I think, figuring out what your story is, and then also figuring out the form of the story is. Like, what kind of movie is it? Is it a straight up genre by the book? Is it do the right thing? Is it, like, there's so many different types of structure. Is it Inception? Are you messing up with time? Are you taking time and completely chopping it up like Chris Nolan does all the time? Then yeah. That's a different script, right? So all those things inform not just how you tell your story. I don't know what my genre is. I just know that I'm curious. Things hurt me. Things get me up in the morning, and my curiosity leads to a question. How do we be better people? How does a society not catch fire? How does conflict get resolved in the most humanistic way, understanding that we are in the chokehold of the 2019? You know, like, yeah. I just ask questions like that, and then I think of characters to express it.
Maybe using Meditation Park as an example. Mm-hmm. So you mentioned there was a shining moment where you thought that could be a story.
Yeah.
You were driving in a car, right?
Yeah, I was with my mom. And I had been working, because I'm very disciplined, so I will ask those questions I just talked to you about. I will work that in my brain any spare moment I have. So I'm always looking for an idea to be in love with, right? And to have catch fire and be my next work.
Because it's got to be a long-term love affair.
It's got to be a long-term love affair, and I'm constantly searching, and if I'm not searching, I'm working the muscles to figure that out, right?
So start to finish, 4 years for a script?
From beginning to movie, could be 4 years.
So, so you damn well better love it. So you're driving with your mom.
I'm driving with my mom, and I had been working on a bunch of ideas. Nothing was catching fire, and there's 3 kids in the back. And my mother leans over to the driver's seat, very quietly says, "Gamao食嘅新魚啊, gamao 食嘅新魚." And I said, what are you talking about? Because it literally, what she said was, the cat has caught a new fish in Cantonese. And I thought it was such a beautiful term. It's just so visual. And then she explained to me that so-and-so is stepping out on his wife, right? And that was it. She told me that, and I I saw the thong. I was driving, glad I didn't hurt anyone. But I just saw it, and we did the afternoon thing I had to do with my family, and I just wanted to get home and just start writing it out in my head. Yeah. And so I followed her. I followed Maria. I knew I was writing a story of accidental liberation. I knew it was going to be an empowerment tale. I knew she was 60. I knew the family. I knew I was going to put the parking stuff from the P&E, because I'd been saving that. Since it happened, since I moved into the neighborhood and saw these things happen, I've been saving it in my back pocket. So it's part of when something takes fire, it's not because it was that moment, it's because you've been working your whole life for that moment. In a way. Yeah. Like everything, because you're looking at the world, you're writing ideas down. I'm sure you have a pocket full of ideas, right? Of little observations that, like, that would be a funny scene. Remember that moment? Blah, blah, blah. You know, so I have a giant, it's a virtual box. Sometimes I don't write them down. Sometimes I write.
Over my phone, and I've got, in my noteboard, just, Goner's idea.
Right.
kind
Yeah.
of better ending.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I've also got a 5-picture plan of 4 of which are books that I'd like to adapt. I'm like, as long as no one,
Right.
grabs the rights,
Right.
that's going
Right.
to be my second film, and that'll
Right.
be my third film.
Oh, cool. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so so you knew it was going to be a story of infidelity and how this older Chinese Canadian woman who maybe was adrift because she doesn't have a huge support network.
Yep.
Here in Vancouver.
She was just well. It's the truth about when you don't have language.
Yeah.
There is so much that you feel unable to participate in. I spoke to a woman recently who said to me, "Oh, my English is really bad." And then she was Japanese, and she proceeded to have a really long conversation with me, more interesting than any of the other conversations I'd been having, because she's been dying to talk to someone and her English wasn't bad. So it's sort of having the confidence to communicate. They say communication is only, what is it, like 30% words, and the rest of it is body language, and so that's why people can communicate beyond words. And I wanted to say partly that in this film, that this woman steps outside of her house, finds a community, is able to forge a real deep friendship with someone from another culture, and they help each other through this time.
And how cool that you get to be the vessel for someone whose story isn't being told by other people. Like you get to be the first one to share that, or that's a rare thing, and that's special. Huh?
Yeah, well, I'm sure there's been other stories that I've been inspired by, of older women in redemption, or finding liberation, finding their life redeemed, finding their purpose. It is. I just was so lucky. This came to me like a flash, and it happened. Like I'm really. That was there's a few times that's happened, and you just go, okay.
Yeah. Write it down.
Write it down.
And outline it and plan the hell out of it.
Yeah.
How do you pitch it then? At what point do you pitch it? Because you've got to get other people, it's not like sculpting or writing a novel necessarily where you do it all yourself.
Yeah.
You need a team, you need money, you need backers. So when do you come to them with an idea?
I wrote the script first. I wrote the log line. We made a little one sheet with, actually I got the cast. So I got Sandra to agree to, she read it and she loved it, and she's out, yes, I'll definitely play Ava, the daughter.
She's done some things.
She's done a few things, yeah. And then I went to Chen Pei, who was in Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, as the Jade Fox. She's a legendary original Shaw Brothers company player. She had a film called Come Drink With Me, which Tarantino cites. It was it King Hugh or Sue Hark? I can't remember who made it, but it was a female lead assassin, and she was it.
All right.
So in black and white, like 64, I want to say, something like that, 65. Yeah, she was 17 or something. But she's had a huge career. She came on board and said she'd be Maria. I believe I had Tai Ma at that point, yes, to play Bing, who had been in Arrival and in Veep. He's a fantastic, renowned actor in America. And then Don McKellar signed on board, and then from there I pitched it. So it was kind of like, just, I dare you not to make this film.
Yeah, we're making this film, clearly.
Yeah, you just have to give me the money.
Yeah.
And so I didn't want to mess around, so I pulled all favors. Because I knew 60-year-old Chinese woman hero, that's really easy pitch, right?
Sure.
But
people watching and listening, they might say, but Mina, you've already got all these great works under your belt. It's going to be, quote unquote, easier for you to get talent. How do I, a first-time filmmaker, get actors of that caliber? Or do I not even bother trying? Like, do you have any advice for people that
I think
are going for their first film?
Everybody has different privileges and connections. So maybe your brother is married to so-and-so who can get you your script to such and such, right? I didn't have any of that. So I had to make a short. I had to, I met Sandra because we were cast in the same thing. I was just I had a little acting gig, and she was the lead. And that's how we met. But it was really also seeing my work. Like I made a bunch of shorts.
Mm-hmm.
I won a bunch of awards that instilled trust in people.
Yeah.
So that helped.
So baby steps before you
Baby
run.
steps, yeah. Well, you can. It's very hard to get the attention of a manager agent in Hollywood who reps Elizabeth Banks, let's say.
Mm.
You know, she's got a lineup of people more connected than I am to force her to read, or force her manager's assistant to consider my script. It has to go like that first. Like like that kind of baby steps of like, this is what this is, and and
is that time wasted?
often. Often it's wasted. So my thing is trying to put the power in your own hands.
Okay.
Before I made Meditation Park, well, I did Ninth Floor, a doc, but before that, I did a little short for Cineworks called I Saw You. And it had a crew of 5 people that I got Cineworks to find me. So I was just like, any up and comers, any hungry people, we got no money. You guys gave me a grant of $200 to make this film, but with all the gear.
Yeah.
And I worked with Ashley Andel, who is a artist of another discipline. It was called Intersections. It was a project they had. They would put filmmakers and artists of a different discipline to make something.
Cool.
And so I cast him in the film and wrote a story kind of about him, and about projection, about the idea of projecting. And it's called I Saw You, from the I Saw You ads in the Georgia Strait.
Oh, great.
Yeah. So I did that we shot it in his house. Everything was free. I drove a car to go loaded with balloons to set so that we could have. I made craft service. I went to Costco and we shot for 2.5 days, and just doing that. I was in charge of costumes. I was in charge of everything, that ADing, all of that. I had people working different positions. 5 people only, right?
Yeah.
Mind you, he was alone a lot. He only had a scene by himself, or actually there was a couple of scenes with 5 people in them, but constructed to be small. And because I did that and remembered what it felt like to be in film school, where you just did everything yourself, it was important when I went to Meditation Park to just get the movie made, get Maria alive in front of you.
Great.
As quickly as I could. I was like possessed. So that's part of the journey of like, how do you do it? By any means necessary, to quote Spike Lee.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. How do you make it in Hollywood? Well,
just make
whatever
films.
it takes. Yeah.
Just make films.
Yeah. And it's never been easier. We've got a camera right now.
That's right.
That we could shoot a feature. I'm not going to keep you all that. It's not going to be very many plot twists here today if we did, but yeah, find a way.
Find a way.
Use the library, shoot scenes in here.
Yeah, I can't believe you've got equipment here. It's great.
Oh, it's astounding. Yeah. People are recording podcasts in here. They're editing films out there.
That you can, and then they'll teach you how to use the gear. That's awesome.
So, well, this is great. Okay, so you pitched when it wasn't your first draft, your script.
No.
You really did a lot of work behind the scenes, like a submarine or an iceberg. It's all happening below the surface, and then you emerge with a really wicked script.
Yeah, I have to say this. I think you throw away as much as you keep in the script to make that first draft. Don't be afraid to edit and get to the core. You're asking people to come on a journey with you. So I think about how I design the page for the reader. I think about the reader being working overtime on a Saturday in his loungewear and wanting to put the script down.
So how do you design the page for him?
Make sure there's enough white space. If it's got a joke or a suspenseful moment, make them turn the page. They'll get the answer at the top of the page.
Great.
Seriously,
Yeah.
I think about all of that because, and you think about who ultimately not all writers do that. I do it because I've learned how to do it.
Yeah.
Some scripts get picked up and made because an actor says I'll do it, and that's a great idea, right? Yeah. I work my butt off because I want everyone on board. I want to be designing the experience from the beginning. So, anyway, so throw away as much as you've written. Like, it's a lot of work.
And often that's the beginning pages that it has all this backstory that you'll probably end up chuck out and get into the story
Yeah,
sooner?
some other way. Like, you don't have to. One thing I think about first time writers, and I've done it myself, is you're trying to pack everything you know in those first 10 scenes. We don't need to know what his dad's relationship was with him in the first 10 pages. We need to know what the story we're on, and then it's a reveal.
Yeah.
The pain, his lack, his wound, right? Whatever it is. So, yeah, anyway, you were saying, yes, I waited to many, many drafts, then I pitched the project.
And then, okay, so you pitch, and you're directing it. You're not pitching it as a screenwriter. So
Yeah.
you're already thinking visually.
Yeah.
You've got actors on board.
Yeah.
And are you including like a mood board, some key visuals, or sample footage that you might shoot with one of your actors? Did you ever try that?
I didn't do that with this. I did it when we were directing the movie and we were greenlit. But all I needed was the one sheet, sort of looking really great and having a wonderful synopsis with the script, the cast.
Picture of the thong?
No thong. No, let people imagine the
Okay,
thong,
yeah.
right?
I have
Pay for the thong.
Yeah, that's right. That's right, baby.
And all, so that I probably didn't have to do that, or didn't do that because people know that it's going to be a film by me.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So there's a history with everybody now because they've seen how my head looks inside.
We got East Vancouver.
Yeah.
Could be
I mean, it's written. That's written in the script.
Yeah. And you make no bones about this being Vancouver in your stories. Like you weren't trying to pretend it was some other city.
No.
Yeah. Yeah, I find it weird. If you're shooting a Vancouver story, tell a Vancouver story.
It's so beautiful here.
Yeah.
We're so unique. Our land is so vibrant and varied. I don't know why you wouldn't, unless there's a reason. I mean, I will shoot things in places that aren't here, and we'll shoot them like it's.
Yeah. I expect a sequel on Bowen Island. Right?
No.
A big budget meditation park sequel?
No, I don't think so. But I will keep writing. And
So, tell me then about the financing comes in bit by bit. It's not all at once, I presume. And is there ever a doubt that it's going to fall apart, or you're possessed, so you're just going to
by any means necessary? No problem. And just going to do it.
Do you send updates when you've applied for a grant or perhaps telefilm backing? You go, hey, brand new actor just came on board. I know you haven't made a decision yet.
The producers do that. I mean, I had on Meditation Park, I had Steve Hedges and Raymond Massey, who are seasoned, very capable independent producers, and the three of us were producing it, and they had my back. They did all those sort of things.
Great.
I did things like, when a cast member dropped out and I had to recast it. I got her on a plane, and she was I think it was Thursday. We had to recast it. Monday, she was on set.
Wow.
A new actor who was fantastic in the movie. So, I'll do things like at one point, it's very hard to shoot in Vancouver on the budget level that we were shooting in because we want a good quality movie, and at the same time, we're competing with American shows that have $4 million, $5 million at the drop of a hat.
And
to do a Hallmark movie, right?
All those Christmas trees. And
exactly,
props,
all those Christmas trees.
So how do you get around that? How do you get good crew when this is a white hot industry?
Steve said something. He goes, we have A-listers the closer you are to camera. So the farther away from camera, you can have people who are needing their bump up to the next position, or want to do a Canadian film, or you have to get the team leaders that you want to find the crew, and it's loyalties and relationships. That's what that's all about.
Yeah.
So not easy, but at one point we had a 19-day shooting schedule going into it, and after the first week, Steve and Raymond pulled me aside and they said we need to lose a day in the shooting schedule. And it should be here and not in Chinatown, because we're shooting all this action stuff in Chinatown.
Right.
And I went, they go, but let's talk about it next week. And I went home from shooting that day to opening the script and taking scenes out and amalgamating things. And then I checked with my Mohammed El Mashri, who's a writer who was the associate producer on the film. He was kind of my creative in my creative corner. I could phone him and go, I got no pictures of a sign that says Meditation Park. That's okay, right? I feel it's pedantic if we do that. And he's like, yeah, no, you don't need to explain Meditation Park.
Yeah.
And if it's a mystery, whatever, right? It's fine.
Might be it's a state of mind.
State of mind, exactly. That's
yeah.
fine. The Brazilian translation, or the Colombian translation for the film is the Park of Dreams. Ooh. Yeah, that's what they call it.
They're going to love that.
Yeah. So anyway, so I cut a day. And I showed up the next day. Well, I sent all the stuff to my AD, who reorganized it. And at that point, once I conquered that, there's all these things to conquer when you're on set. It's crazy as a director. Yeah. But once I conquered that, there's no stopping me after that.
Yeah, you can make those big changes on the fly.
Yeah, it wasn't huge changes. It was just things like, I'd take out an entrance. I'd amalgamate two scenes. And that's from production experience. That's from shooting television. Yeah. That I know how to do that. So I was very grateful for, like, my AD, Patrice Leong, is a veteran. She was on Beachcombers. That was her first show. Wow. She was a third AD on Beachcombers, years ago. And she really wanted to do this movie. And whipped us into getting it. Basically.
Tell me your indie, we'll call it indie filmmaking. I mean, from where I'm sitting, it looks like you had a really big budget. You may not agree. And it's your fifth film, not your first film. But for people that are watching that are eager to make their first feature, can you think back and give us your hard-earned do's and don'ts? Maybe 3 do's that you should absolutely do when you're doing your first feature.
Do's in life, if you want to be a filmmaker, I mean, unless you strike it big like Steven Spielberg, you got to keep your overhead low and your credit rating high so that you can have freedom to do projects and take those risks, because it's your next idea that's might be the idea. Yeah. You know what I mean? And a career is very long. So you may have a great film, then your next one, Alexander Payne's film just collapsed, right? He's Alexander Payne. Yeah. He's been nominated for Oscars. He was about to start shooting, and it's based on a true story, and the guy just refused to sign over. Oh, wow. Yeah. So, and they had gone, I'm like, how does that work in the court of law that they didn't have him sewn up? But there must have been an out clause, and he used it. Yeah. So. And
they gambled, and
your career goes up and down and up and down. So the thing is, what you got to do is be flexible and be free. That's what you have to find, a way to be free so that you can come up with new ideas. So that's my number one. You want to be an indie filmmaker, really an independent person, you got to be free from having to work because you have high expenses. Right. You know what I mean?
Great tip,
like just think about how much it costs to have a month of free time to write. Save for that. Yeah. Do that. Figure out a way to write while you're working. Figure out that, but don't get into, don't start buying like Maseratis because they're cool. I don't think so. Anyway, possessions will never embrace you like your self-expression will. Great. Because if you can keep being inquisitive in an expressive form, there's always light. Yeah. It's always possible, right? You can be 80 years old trying to do your first podcast, and someone might hear it.
And the excitement you'll get from that
it's way more than, say, if you bought the lamp. Yeah. I personally think that's me. So that's one. Get good gear. Really basic. Basic.
Not just relying on your friends, but you.
No, and it's not like film gear. I'm talking about just to stand outside and not be cold. Okay. Because you're directing.
A good jacket.
A good jacket, like really good. I mean, writers visit, they go sit in the tent, they come out of the tent. But if you're directing, get good gear. Yeah.
So hats, jacket, shoes. Yeah. All right.
I believe also.
That's Vancouver, so
Yeah, sorry, guys. It's practical. I think it's really important to keep inquiring. Whatever that expression is for you, it's. We need you. We need all of you to inquire, because if you inquire, then you will be inquisitive in your life, which means you will be more open, you will have great experiences, you will have heartbreak, you will have loss, but boy, then you'll have something to write about. So I'm constantly reading stuff, looking for stuff. I read interviews with bands I've never heard of because I want to hear their story. Well, how did you do your thing? Why are you here? Yeah. What is your thing? Give me your...
I love reading about their breakthrough record, their breakthrough song, their breakthrough year.
Yeah, exactly. Whatever it is.
That transition is fantastic.
Well, there's a Exclaim magazine, which is free. You see it next to the Georgia Straits. And they always do in-depth with... And I think they just did Beyonce. No, they did Rihanna. I get the two of them mixed up, and that's terrible. But it's because it's like they're both amazing female powerhouses. Like, yeah, they were at the same time. But anyway, I just saw that, and I just read it. I don't even know about her music. Like, I'm not a fan or anything.
Sure.
But I just read it because I was like, that's really... Like, so I want to see...
Read everything.
Read everything.
Yeah.
Absorb...
Come to the library.
Come to the library. It isn't
We've got scripts and novels.
Yeah.
And graphic novels.
When I was a kid, when I was a little kid, I'm talking about like 10, there was in the original library here, there was a mezzanine with plays. And I would go to that space and I'd pick up a play and I'd start reading it. So I read Neil Simon, I read Tennessee Williams. I have a degree in theater as well as a film diploma from UBC, and you can learn how to make films. How do you learn to tell stories? And that's my theater degree, and then also many years of screenwriting practice. Right? Yeah. I went there are people who come to it naturally. I worked really hard to learn how to write scripts, and I'm still learning.
How many hours a day do you put in typically? Like, do you?
Well, if I'm
close
possessed,
your door. Sorry.
Yeah, if I'm possessed, I don't. That's all I'm doing until it's out, because it's like you're, it's like you're crazy. So if you don't write it down, like I'll eat, I'll go back. It's like sorry, people that I love who live with me. I'm not here. I'm not here.
No, we just held some live script readings in front of an audience so people could test out their scenes, their dialogue. And do you do the same? Do you have reads? Do you have private reads or a trusted? No. How do you know if it's funny?
We didn't even. How do we know? Well, you're reading it to yourself. Often, I'd rather have rehearsal than have a reading of the script, because you signed up for the script. You signed up to be in the movie. You signed up in the movie. I trust that we all got it and that we'll figure it out. The thing is to build layers upon layers for the acting.
Great.
For the storytelling. That's what I'd rather spend time with, because the moment on set can change. I'm standing there. I'm the writer-director, right? So how do you know? You don't even in readings know if it's funny or not. Right?
Because someone will take a path that's maybe...
Or people are laughing because they're being generous. So you have to take everything with a grain of salt in a reading. I've done readings before, and I don't find them all that useful for me personally. Mm-hmm. Some shows you cannot. Some shows always have readings, like television shows. Most television shows that are good have readings. They do readings, because that's the only way they can get everyone snapped in for a minute. Yeah. Right. But when we just, if you said to me, get the cast together to read or to improvise, I'd rather rehearse and improvise. Yeah.
Time better spent. Yeah.
Time better spent for me. Yeah.
Now, drawing on your own career, hard-earned lessons, thinking of don'ts that you can share to inspire people watching, either from your own career or from other filmmakers you've seen who've tries to raise money, and maybe they raise money for years and then give up. Any wisdom to share on things to avoid so you can tell more of your stories faster?
Avoid toxic people. I think that's a huge thing. Like, if I do not partake in the petty insecurities and having to help people over their petty insecurities. We all have them. Yeah. We all have them. I'm not immune to being insecure, But if I'm acting out against you because I'm scared, which is probably why people are mean, ever. It's usually a fear. I really believe that. But I won't take my eye off the story, serving the story, to be mired in your drama.
So you talk about someone that you hired to help you make the movie.
Yeah.
And they're...
You need a lot of people to make a movie, and sometimes we're evolved at different rates. And especially when we're asking for free people, when we're so desperate for collaboration, and also just love. Like could be like self-help love 101 advice, or making creative projects. Really, don't get yourself in a situation where you're compromising who you are essentially to work with that person, because then you're not going to express yourself. I think that's like, there's like, if you're hiding who you are in order to fit in, then we're not getting all of you. So that's like, don't hide. That's my thing. That's one thing I would say. Don't
be a dick. Sounds like what
don't be a dick. Yeah, you also don't be a dick. I don't think you have to be to make movies. No. I do think speak your truth thing. You know what's funny, Ken? I don't think about don'ts that much. I think about do's. I'm a very positive person, so I'm just like, don'ts is hard. Like, don't.
And really, when I'm asking about don'ts, I am seeking do's, really. Yeah,
you're seeking do's. Yeah, because I mean, like, simple things like I'm always on time. Yes. Always on time. Yeah. Always on time. I've worked with people who are very highly respected in their field in what we do, and they'll comment going, "You're always on time. You're the director. You're allowed to be late." And it's like, no, because if I'm late, and it's not like I've never been late. Traffic has stopped me at points, right? But I'm never late usually, and it's because I respect your time. Yeah. So I expect you to respect my time. So don't be late. That's such a fundamental thing. I don't need to tell the audience that, right? But that would be a don't.
And also, if you arrive apologizing, you're giving away your power.
It's a different situation. Stressful. Yeah.
Yeah, and you start the day with.
I ask you, is it self-sabotage? Yeah. That you are late all the time.
Yeah. It was me in my 20s. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
always late. Yeah. And I finally figured it out.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and I get much better at basically making a to-do list and set alarms for when I should absolutely get up from the desk, leave the script alone, and get down the elevator and go
do the next thing. Yeah. It's so true. I actually set alarms. So I'll do a meeting an hour when I'm hustling for something, right?
Like at a film festival? Or?
No, like because all the money's in Toronto. I go to Toronto. I meet a whole bunch of people that are my supporters, right? That I'm just catching up with them, and I'll usually have an hour in each place, and then I got to get to the next place. I'm only there for a couple of days because I love Vancouver, so I don't like to be away very much, and I'm away too much. But I will, as I'm getting out of the Uber to take that meeting, I'm setting my alarm, and it will go off in the meeting where I got to get out of there. Yeah. Because if I back myself up, everybody gets backed up, and the people I'm meeting with all know what kind of schedule we're all on. They're on the same schedule, so it's not rude or anything.
No,
and
I appreciate it.
Yeah, and it keeps me. Then I don't stress. Yeah. Then I have enough time to I show up at the meeting. I'm happy.
You can watch people, get ideas.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Daydream in the car for a minute. Yeah.
Do you want to talk about what your next project is, or is it too soon to talk about it?
It's too soon.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
So that's another tip. Like, don't give away too soon, because I've heard it blows out your pilot light a little bit. I don't need to pitch it here. You know what I mean? Like I had a screening yesterday, and I told the audience what I was doing. They wanted to know, but I don't want to have it on film forever. What I'm about to do. It's not the time for it. Yeah.
It's not the time for it, and it's kind of private. You know, I love, I am writing. It's very exciting. I've got all the Sharpies and everything. I'm going to go home from this and go do that and just keep combing through drafts. If you learn one thing, is it's very labor intensive to be a writer. Economy of words in screenwriting, I would say. Also, can I just say that in terms of architecture of the page? Don't get too florid. Write cinematically. write it
Shorter sentences.
shorter sentences.
Yeah. 'Cause
Make sure the page isn't filled with words, that there's white space, like there's
Yeah.
blank space when you're looking at the page.
for me, the reader, to put my dreams in and my imagination in, right? Like,
Yeah.
allowing me to add to it in my head.
True, and as the reader, also just it makes it. It's not an essay; it's a movie.
Yeah.
You know. So, and movies have a certain kind of feel in terms of the visual, how it flows. So if your screenplay can emulate that by economy of words, by the way it's broken down, oh, I'm flipping the page, oh, there's the punchline, that kind of stuff, then you're giving them a journey in reading it. The idea is so they don't put it down
Yeah.
on their day off wearing their bathrobe while reading your script.
and thinking about you directing TV and films, like is there a philosophy that you have or an approach that you have to working with actors and crew? Like what kind of zone are you in, and how do you work with people on these creative missions?
I try to inspire the cast and the crew to make a space that magic can happen. That's all it is. You just, I'm very good at my job. I'm very efficient. So they feel taken care of. Like I'm not about to blow the budget on something. You know, they know I'm very planned out. I'm not erratic. But then between action and cut, it's magic time. It's like we're there with the actors, the lighting, we're making it better the whole time. And that's really exciting.
Yeah.
That's what it is partly. If you can create a space for magic and then magic happens, which it often does because you've created the space and you're inviting people to do that with you, that's really a great thing to do every day. So people get excited to come to work and we put out our best work that way.
It's a beautiful thing to end on. Yeah. Is there anything else that you want to add? Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Mina, so great to have you here. So this is the Canadian Film Salon with Mina Shum. We all want to see what she's doing next, and she'll tell us when she's ready.
All right. Thanks. Okay. Bye.